Welcome, everybody, to the Motorsport Enthusiast podcast. This is your host, John DeRugeris, the Motorsport Enthusiast. You can find... Whoa, that rhymes. I just now realized that. John DeRugeris, the Motorsport Enthusiast. Wow. Okay, cool. Anyways, welcome to the show. Today, I'm going to talk about NASCAR, specifically going into Atlanta. Also talking about Formula One. Now we're in week 2, heading to Saudi Arabia this weekend. So, depending on when you're watching this, you probably have already seen Formula One practice 1 and 2, probably 3 and qualifying as well. This is going to go out the day before the races. So, depending on when you watch this may be completely irrelevant, but still good value on how this stuff will go. So first, I'm going to give over a NASCAR preview about what's going on this season, NASCAR predictions for this weekend, as well as NASCAR bets. I'm also going to go into the Formula One preview for the year, as well as this weekend predictions and my bets as well. So let's start off with the NASCAR preview. What has happened so far this year? Ricky Stenhouse Jr. won the Daytona 500. That was a big surprise, followed by an awesome win from Kyle Busch in Auto Club. Then William Byron goes back-to-back, then gets slapped with huge penalties from NASCAR regarding their hood louvers. So all of Hendrick Motorsports got fined and docked points, except for the number 9 driver, Chase Elliott, because he's obviously out of the season, well, out of the current schedule for the foreseeable future until his leg heals, so Josh Berry is filling in. Denny Hamlin and Ross Chastain got into it last week at Phoenix. So that means that rivalry is still going on. Denny Hamlin got fined, I believe, $50,000 and some driver points for what happened at Phoenix. Basically, he said that he let go of the wheel and wrecked Ross. So that's where we stand in the Cup Series. Now, what's going on from a point standing perspective? Well, William Byron secured his spot twice. Now he got docked, major penalties there. He's still going to make the playoffs, followed by Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Kyle Busch. So those are your 3 playoff drivers to date. But if we were to go off of purely points, this is how the point standing would stand. Starting from 1st down to 16th, you would have Kevin Harvick in 1st, Ross Chastain in 2nd, Christopher Bell in 3rd, Blaney in 4th, Kyle Busch in 5th, Martin Truex Jr. in 6th, Suarez in 7th, Logano in 8th, Keselowski in 9th, and Chris Buescher in 10th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in 11th, Hamlin in 12th, Bubba Wallace in 13th, Austin Cindric in 14th, and Corey LaJoie and Michael McDowell rounding out the top 15 and 16. So what do some of these drivers have to do with what I'm talking about with Atlanta? Well, this is what they have to do. So let's pay attention to RFK. Look at Brad K. He's sitting there in 9th in the standings. He could be poised for a good day and a good weekend down here in Atlanta this upcoming weekend. Why? They have a good they have a good super speedway program. They should have probably been out front and possibly could have won at Daytona, and they've been consistent all year round. Look out for Brad Keselowski to stir up the points and possibly bring home a dub this weekend in Atlanta. Let's look at Corey LaJoie. He is one of my long shot bets. If you follow me on either YouTube or Instagram or TikTok at the Motorsport Enthusiast, you saw that Brad K and Corey LaJoie are my 2 long shot bets. I actually don't personally see them as too far of a long shot because of what they've done at Atlanta, specifically last year. But Corey LaJoie is sitting there 15th in points. If he can keep on battling, if he could squeeze in a win here in Atlanta and lock himself in, look out for that 7 team to start getting on a roll, because they've had some pretty strong finishes, or what should have been strong finishes, and some strong showings here early in the season, especially at super speedways. So we'll see what happens. Let's take a look as well as Chris Buescher sitting there in 10th with 1 top 5 and 1 top 10. I expect him to be up at the front a little bit more as well as the season progresses. And then a big team that I want to pay attention to is Trackhouse. Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez, 1 top 5 for Ross, 2 top 10s for Ross as well. And then Daniel Suarez has 1 top 5 and 3 top 10s. So those 2 drivers are actually my top 2 picks going into this week to actually win at Atlanta outside of my other 3. So that's what's going on in the point standing. So has practice happened? Nope. We don't know what's going to go on with these Cup cars. We have no clue how this is going to shake out. But some things that we do know from NASCAR is that they have actually already probably, I haven't confirmed this yet, but Kyle Busch had some major issues in inspection, which means he's going to have to probably either start at the back or he's not going to have a strong enough day in the beginning of the race. Now, Atlanta's a super speedway, so it doesn't matter what happens. You can start in the back and still be out in the front at the end. So we'll see what happens there. But we'll see what happens. Let's move to the Xfinity and Truck Series. The qualifying was canceled because of rain, so there's some fun stuff there. But let's take a little bit of a look at what's coming up here this weekend. Some drivers I want to pay attention to. Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez, of course, those two. I also want to pay attention to Kyle Busch. The reason why is because he should have won Daytona. He should have won the Daytona 500, I believe. He was one of my picks. He should have won it. The next pick that I want to pay attention to is actually going to be the 12 of Ryan Blaney. Now, you're probably saying, oh, yeah, that's a no-brainer. But let's keep in mind, he's only had one top 5 this season. He hasn't really had a good, strong running this year. He got wrecked at Auto Club. He's had a couple of bad races. And you would think that a super speedway driver like Ryan Blaney should have had a win by now. I believe he should have. I think they could have possibly won Daytona, I mean, with a handful of those drivers. So I think Ryan Blaney has a good chance of potentially winning this weekend. So Ross Chastain, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Busch, Daniel Suarez, and the last guy I want to pay attention to, I'm going to switch my pick. I'm going to switch it to Brad Kay, and here's why. He's shown to have a lot of speed this season. They could possibly get it done. So I want to move him from my long shots to my favorites here this weekend at Atlanta. Now, long shot bets to win. I'm actually not betting on any of these drivers. I'll tell you my true NASCAR bet, which I put all of my bankroll on, of all of $50 now, because last week screwed me over from a betting perspective. But looking into what has happened with this driver and this other driver at Atlanta piques my interest to potentially have them win here this weekend. Corey LaJoie, like I mentioned, he runs strong up here. Arguably should have won that race when Chase Elliott made that last-second move. Look for him. Another driver, Justin Haley. Now, where is Justin Haley sitting in the point standings? Well, he is all the way... Where is this guy? Where is Justin Haley? He's in last. He's in last. Want to know why he's in last? Because he had that penalty in association with Hendrick Motorsports. Colleague got the blunt of that as well. So, can Justin Haley get himself back into the playoffs this weekend? Possibly could with a win. So, that's what I'm looking for this weekend. And my prediction is going to be one of those drivers to win. Now, my only NASCAR bet that I have going on this weekend is a Corey LaJoie top 10. Now, why is that? Well, he should have won the race in the fall. He finished 5th in the spring. I may have had those backwards, but either way, he was running up front in both races. I was rooting for Mr. LaJoie. I think he can get it done. I think it's this time. I think he has the experience and he knows what to do. He knows to block the guy. So we'll see. With Chase Elliott not being in the race, that's a big super speedway favorite. Could somebody like Corey LaJoie step up? I think they could. Moving on to Formula One. So last week, or 2 weekends ago in Bahrain, Max Verstappen stole the show. Charles Leclerc had problems with his power unit and the control equipment, so he had to go to his third box or third control equipment swap. So he has a 10-place grid penalty going into the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix at Jeddah. But let's take a look specifically at what's going on this year in the point standing. So Max Verstappen leads with Sergio Perez in second. Fernando Alonso making a statement in third. Carlos Sainz in fourth. Lewis Hamilton in fifth. Lance Stroll in sixth. George Russell in seventh. Bottas in eighth. Pierre Gasly in ninth. And Alexander Albon in 10th in the Williams with 1 point. So probably don't know, probably haven't seen, or probably you don't hear me saying Charles Leclerc. Well, it's because he had a DNF, so he's not even in the points at all. Not even categorized as a driver because only 17 finished last weekend. So what does this mean? Well, Red Bull knows what they're doing. They have a stranglehold on Formula One. Yet again, Max Verstappen is the driver. He's even a little bit under the weather this weekend. Could he potentially win? Yes. Does he finish on the podium 100% unless they have some kind of issue? So that's what's going on in the Formula One standing side of things. Let's pay attention to what's going on in P1 and P2 when it comes to practice. That just happened today. Let's go to practice number 1. Max Verstappen and Sergio led 1 and 2, but pay attention to this. You had Fernando and Lance in the Aston Martins going 3rd and 4th. Very close lap times there, with Mercedes in 5 and 6, and then Carlos Sainz at 7, Alpine's Pierre Gasly in 8, and then Albon in 9th. So you're probably saying, okay, where are the Haas's? Where are the McLarens? Where's the other Ferrari? Well, Charles Leclerc is in 11th. Oscar Piastri is in 14th. Lando is in 20th. And the Haas's are both 15th and 16th. So could this be an Aston Martin year? I think 100% for sure they can. Let's go over to practice 2. This is why I say it could be an Aston Martin year. Max Verstappen led practice again in FP2. But pay attention to this next driver I'm about to say. With only 0.2 seconds behind Max Verstappen, Fernando Alonso came in P2 in practice 2, with Sergio Perez in 3rd and Esteban Ocon in 4th, George Russell in 5th, Pierre Gasly in 6th, Lance Stroll in 7th, Hülkenberg in 8th, Charles Leclerc in 9th, and Carlos Sainz in 10th. So, what am I noticing for this weekend? What am I kind of predicting? Well, I predicted on my TikTok that I think Max Verstappen is going to finish on the podium for sure. That's going to happen. I also said I think Fernando could be battling up there. I think you have to put his name into the hat. Battling for P2. 100% for sure he's going to be on the podium, I think. And the third driver, he doesn't show like he had a lot of speed in practice, but the Ferraris have done this, especially in Bahrain. But looking at not Charles Leclerc, but Carlos Sainz to step up, here's why. With Charles Leclerc having that grid penalty, it's going to put him back 10 spots no matter what happens. Whether he qualifies first and gets technically the pole, qualifies 10th, doesn't matter. He's going to be set 10 places back from wherever he qualifies. So, what does this mean for Carlos? This means they need to put all their effort into trying to get Carlos to win the race. I know you don't want to, go back and forth and do one driver versus the other, or have both drivers have equal opportunity here. But when you have a driver have a 10-place grid penalty, especially at a place like Jeddah, you have to focus on one driver. I think that driver is going to be Carlos Sainz. I think he's going to be on the podium. Another driver I want to pay attention to is Pierre Gasly in that Alpine. He finished 8th in P1 and 6th in P2. That is a huge improvement for that team. And his teammate, Esteban Ocon, finished 4th. Could this be Alpine's big race where they break into the points in a higher level? Could they finish in the top 5? Could they finish in the top 6? Who knows? But I think Alpine could have a great chance to win. Let me take that back. Alpine has a great chance to win 5th or 6th, not win the race. They have a good chance of finishing P5 or P6 with both Ocon and Gasly. So, with that being said, the question is, can my favorite driver, Charles Leclerc, make his way up through the field? I think they can. They're going to have to get a safety car to do it. I don't think they're going to be able to do it on speed. I think it's going to be a little bit of a conservative strategy, even though they even switched over both power units in the Ferraris this weekend. I think that they're going to be playing a little bit on the conservative side, but they're going to be banking on a safety car, which I think has the chance of being very likely. So, where do I think Charles Leclerc finishes in the race? I think he could finish in the top 5. I think he could possibly break into 4th. Do I see him making his way up to, a podium spot? He's going to have to gain at least half of those positions back on the long run at Jeddah and get a safety car. So I don't think, unless he can get half of his spots back that he normally would have had. So if let's say he qualified 5th and he went back to 15th, if he can't make it back up, he has to make it up into the top 5 by that safety car. Forget what I just said about half. Charles Leclerc, to potentially even finish on the podium, is going to have to qualify high, and he's going to have to make it to 5th buy the safety car to even have a chance to get on the podium this weekend in Saudi Arabia. So, what is my best bet of the weekend? I'm going to say Fernando Alonso podium is my best bet, as well as Pierre Gasly top 6. I like those as well. Those are the only two I'm going to stick with just because of value perspective. I'm personally not going to bet on it. All my bankrolls in Corey LaJoie finishing in the top 10. So, Corey, please, if you watch this, please finish in the top 10. I need a good week. Last week completely murdered me. But with that being said, that's what's going on in the Formula One world. So, you're seeing it where it's another year of Red Bull performing at a high level. Does Max have the advantage over everybody? Yes. Is it going to be a year where Max is going to possibly win another championship? Yes. Is it likely? Yes. Who has the team to battle him? Could it be Aston Martin? Could it be Fernando? I mean, with the Bahrain curse, it very well could be. So who knows what's going to happen there. But let's move on to some other fun news. Kevin Harvick is going to be running a very special paint scheme in the All-Star race. He's going to be going back to the 29, and he's going to be running the car he ran at Atlanta when he first came into the Cup Series right after Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s death. If you haven't looked it up, it's on my page. It's on my TikTok. You have to go check it out. It's an amazing video. It's an amazing car. I'm going to buy that die-cast when it comes in because that is the die-cast I need to have. So, other than that, though, you're looking at Week 5 of NASCAR as well as Week 2 of Formula One. This is John DeRudris, the Motorsport Enthusiast. If you have any topics you want me to discuss or want me to dive deep on, whether it's Formula One, NASCAR, IMSA, sim racing, how to create a paint scheme, whatever it may be, F122, Gran Turismo, iRacing, I don't care what it is. I will make a video on it, and I will put this out there for you guys. So, this is John DeRudris, the Motorsport Enthusiast. I'll see you next time.